Hello, BookTube. Let's do a little mail haul, shall we? And live dangerously. We'll live on the edge. But not the first thing. The first thing is a periodical, and it's a periodical I think we've already seen. It's the New Yorker with this time-obsessed cover. See, that's the bottom of a clock. He's looking at his watch. He's looking at his watch. He's got a watch. He's got a watch. I don't follow baseball, so I don't really know what that means. I'm sure that it means something. But there's a letter here that I wanted to read to you. It's not outrageous. It's not gaslighting. It's not enraging. Instead, it's a question that I want to put to you gardeners out there. I almost joined your ranks. It's a subject that I've very seldom come across, and you must have opinions on it, those of you who are avid gardeners. This is a letter about Jill Lepore's piece in an earlier issue about seed catalogs. She did a wonderful piece about seed catalogs that very much, I think, owed its origin to Onward and Upward in the Garden, the great book Onward and Upward in the Garden, which has a great chapter about seed catalogs. But this person writes in from California with something I don't think I've ever really heard expressed this way before. I thoroughly enjoyed Jill Lepore's report on seed catalogs. I first admired these gorgeous things while studying lithography in college, and have been growing backyard gardens in Northern California ever since. By now, I get at least a dozen catalogs each year. They usually arrive when spring planting is still many rainy or frosty weeks ahead, and when it is tempting to succumb to the pizzazz of a dahlia with a novel palette or a heritage variety of beets. Only gardeners will see pizzazz in such things, but I imagine if you are one, you will. But then the writer goes on. This is what I want to ask you about. I kept hoping, though, that Lepore would mention landrace gardening, a traditional method popularized by Joseph Lofthouse, which involves saving the seeds of plants that make it through each season and thereby developing locally adapted varieties. 60% of commercial seeds are now distributed by 4 multinational chemical companies. Most are generally unsuited to the environments in which they will be grown and require the kind of coddling that produces greater environmental and financial costs. By saving seeds from plants that survive under local weather and soil conditions and forming seed banks in our own communities, think the example of tiny libraries, we can select for the traits that make for the best adaptations. These are the seeds to plant the following year and to share with neighbors. That is called, what was that again? Landrace gardening, where you're gardening locally. I had no idea, first of all, that seeds were distributed by such a small concentration of producers. I should have guessed that. That is the way of America right now. You wouldn't believe how few places the food in your supermarket comes from. And I don't just mean the packaging shipped. I mean the ingredients, the items themselves. They come from literally a handful of companies. But I'm wondering, you gardeners out there, if you agree with that. You must agree with it, right? I mean, what are the harms? Do you practice this kind of gardening yourself? Are you careful to cultivate, to encourage the plants that have grown, that have thrived in your own environment, as opposed to just something that's shipped from halfway around the world? I thought that was fascinating. Made me almost want to get back to contemplating gardening myself. Almost. I have a perfect plot, a perfect place, perfect dimensions for a beginner. But it would involve a lot of stooping. And also, unfortunately, that plot of land is directly visible to the bean from her perch. So unless I brought her out there with me to work in the garden, which would be a disaster, since she would be backseat driving the whole time, she would be able to see that I'm not with her, and that would drive her crazy. She's perfectly even-keeled dog, but she really does not like that. She really doesn't. So I think the option that I should probably pursue is indoor gardening, container gardening here inside. Again, just like with the plot outside that is just perfect, I have the perfect spot here for indoor container gardening. It's the whole top of a long, low bookcase, about at your hip joint is where the top of this bookcase is. And I have resisted putting books on top of that space, so it's just open. It's wide open, it's long, and it's directly underneath a window. It gets blasted with sunlight all day long. I'm thinking about it. I could, of course, take the easy way out and just go to the garden. There's a garden center right across the street from the Christian Science Monitor. I could go there, and I'm sure I could get a number of pre-planted, pre-growing plants. I know a lot of you told me that the real joy of gardening is doing everything right from the ground up, literally from seeds in the dirt. Maybe I would get to that. Maybe I need to learn basics first, though, before I get to that. I don't know. I don't know. I think it would be a little silly, but maybe a little exciting. If I could, what if I bought a pot of fertilized soil with a tray underneath it for the drainage of water, and I planted something in that soil here, inside, on that shelf? Would it grow? I don't know. And what would it be if I grew it? What would I grow if I grew something there? Is that space too small to grow something that I would eat? Could I grow a tomato plant in such a circumstance, or potatoes? Or would it have to be flowers? I don't know. I don't know. I should research it. But anyway, now we'll do the packages and voyage into trouble. We'll voyage into possible risk and danger. Will the packages enrage me and force me to delete the video? Let's find out. What is this first one? Okay, no pub sheet. This is coming out in August. This is by Sabine Durant, and it is called Sun Damage. This is going to be a paperback original. The Guardian calls it perfect poolside reading. Sun Damage, where you have glasses there, and one side is cracked and has someone fleeing. What have we got here? The heat is intense. The secrets are stifling, and there is no escape. The heat is not intense today, but it is definitely not cool anymore. The temperature is going to go up steadily as the week goes on, and almost 90 Fahrenheit on Friday. It's going to drop down after that. That hot air is all being pushed forward by a front that is going to deliver, I think the latest estimate is 3.5 single drops of rain. So a deluge, really. But anyway, in a tiny village in Provence, 9 guests arrive at a luxury holiday home. The visitors know one another well, or at least they think they do. The only stranger among them is Lulu, the young woman catering their stay. But Lulu is not exactly the woman on the videos the guests thought they'd hired. Turns out Lulu has plenty to hide and nowhere to run as the heat rises. In this seemingly idyllic getaway, under the scorching sun, loyalties will be tested, secrets exposed, and tensions pushed to the brink. Well, okay. Dare we read the author's bio? That usually gets me into trouble, but we're smooth sailing so far, so I'm feeling cocky. The author is a former assistant editor at The Guardian and the former literary editor of the Sunday Times, whose feature writing has appeared in numerous British national newspapers and magazines. Oh, fantastic. Okay, great. So that raises the question, you're a seasoned writer, but have you written a book before? Oh, yeah, she's written books before. So, Sun Damage in August. When this comes out in August, you're not going to give me an actual date, are you? No, that's all right. Oh, no, you are, the 1st of August. When this comes out on the 1st of August, I will know the shape of this summer. Who knows what this summer will be like? We didn't have a winter here in Boston. Are we going to have a monstrous summer as a kind of a swing of the pendulum? But that's great. So we're one down with no trouble. Let's move on to the next one. We'll just control us. Just get stuff in the mail. Oh, no. Okay. All right. This comes out in the fall, so this is even later than August. Yeah, this comes out in early September, a month after Sun Damage. This is a perfect example of a book that should not stay with me. For those of you who are maybe new to the channel or maybe missed it, I am, in addition to being a sexy influencer here on YouTube, I am also a book reviewer, I'm a book column writer, and I'm also a book section editor. My whole life, outside of these 10 pounds of fussy joy, is entirely taken up with books. And in my capacity as I'm one of the editors on the literary website, Open Letters Review, And I'm also the book section editor of a print newspaper book section, Big Canoe News in Northern Georgia. And in those two capacities, in addition to writing tons of stuff myself, because there's nothing I like better than writing about books, just wrote a review of that new history of Assyria for Open Letters Review. Had a blast. Right? There is no kind of writing I enjoy more. But in addition to doing a lot of writing, I also commission a lot of reviews. Usually not for King's Ransom, and most of the venues that Open Letters Review, for instance, and Big Canoe News don't pay, other than in review copies and exposure. In Big Canoe News, you're getting a print newspaper. Your review is showing up in print. And it's a lovely thing. It comes out once a month. And at Open Letters Review, we don't have a print version, but we have a masthead that lasts all day long, as the kids say. We have a masthead that is pretty darn good. So you're in good company. And because Open Letters Review is the successor to the literary journal Open Letters Monthly, the whole publishing world looks at it. You can, if you run a few reviews in Open Letters Review, I guarantee you will be able to place a review in your local newspaper or in some other venue. Plenty of people have already done that. Plenty of people could testify to that. It's not just me. When I get a new book in the mail, you know already, if you watch this channel, that I have very wide-ranging tastes. But there are some things that fall outside of my purview. They simply do. The folks at Basic Books, sent me this, but one of you is in a much better position to review this. And I think you should. For me, if you live in the continental United States in the lower 48, and you want me to send you this book because you think you're in a good position to review it, I will help you every step of the way. And if it works, we can run your review on Open Letters Review. But anyway, this is coming out in September. This is by John Eisenberg, and it's called Rocket Men: The Black Quarterbacks Who Revolutionized Pro Football. Now, if you are looking at this book, you're watching this video and you're looking at this book, and you can identify those two men, you should think about reviewing this for me. But anyway, let's hear about it. 2023 Super Bowl marked the first time that the two starting quarterbacks were black. Even though the majority of the NFL players are black and have been for decades, this milestone came in the second century of the league's history, a history that would be incomplete without taking race into account. And in this book, renowned journalist John Eisenberg relates the definitive history of black quarterbacks in the NFL, pieced together for the first time. With his behind-the-scenes knowledge and access to players, coaches, and talent insiders, the author reveals the surprising, shocking, and even grim stories of black quarterbacks' struggles to be able to play in the league and the challenges they still face today. So this comes out in early September. That is plenty of time for me to send you this and for you to read it and work up a review. Plenty of time. I'll be happy to send you this to work on, and if we can work up a usable review, I'll gladly send you the finished copy. Can't do more than that. Can't offer to pay you. But once upon a time, for 200 years in book reviewing, that is what editors did. There was no thought that the reviewer would get paid. The payment would be both the exposure of the review once that barrier was broken and reviews started to be signed, and especially the book. That has been the stock and trade of book section editors from time immemorial. That I don't have the budget to pay you, but you can keep the book, which you would otherwise buy. Think about it. That's all I'm saying. Just think about it. And then we have this last one, which is in one of these pressed cardboard things. Wow, it's another advanced copy. Wow. So no finished copies this time around. And this is also August, so none of these things are going on the Steve TPR tonight. These are all way too far in advance. This is by Tom Ireland, and it's called The Good Virus: The Amazing Story and Forgotten Promise of the Phage. You Voyager fans will be shuddering now, but this is not the Vidians. This is not their phage. This is something else. Let's see what this is. Does it have a sheet in it? Yes, it does. Okay, what have we got here? Oh, no, the sheet is all blurbs. That does me no good. All right, let's just flip over the book. At every moment within your body and all around you, trillions of microscopic combatants are fighting an invisible war. Countless times per second, viruses known as bacteriophages invade and destroy bacteria from within, leaving all other cells, including our own, miraculously unharmed. These phages are most abundant, diverse biological entity on Earth, but also the most underappreciated and the most misunderstood. The good virus tells their strange, remarkable story for the first time, from their discovery by a renegade French-Canadian scientist more than a century ago to their emergence in the present day as our unlikely allies in the struggle against antibiotic-resistant infections. We learn how this phage therapy was repeatedly shunned by Western medicine but flourished behind the Iron Curtain, and follow scientists now unlocking how phage shape evolution and life on our planet at large. Celebrating the paradoxical power of viruses to heal, not harm, this book will change how you see nature's most maligned life forms. But that butts its toe against another long-standing debate, which is a virus a life form? It needs other life to live. It can be completely exterminated and chemically recombined. You can make a virus. It doesn't have all the qualities of a living organism, but it does appear to have some of the sovereign qualities, especially self-preservation. Fascinating. Oh my. All right. So this one, I'm not making such a plea, although if one of you out there is a virologist or studying to be one, I just wanted to make sure to sort of put on your radar, as the book publicists say, that if you're thinking about writing book reviews, you have venues. At least one. You have Open Letters Review and you have me. And one of the points I'm trying to make here is not just related, it's not restricted to this book. It's that if you review this book on Open Letters Review and then you flog your review yourself, right? Because the model at Open Letters Review is you do that. I don't. And we don't have anybody that does that. You do that. If you care about getting the word out about your review, you will get the word out about your review. We're all adults here. We all know how the world works, how the internet works. If you care about doing that, then you will. And if you do, well, think of all the ways that you would do that. Go to the entry for this book on Goodreads. Type a sentence or two about general overall thoughts about the book and say, here's a link to my review. Everybody who goes to look up this book will go to that link. Everybody will read your review. Go to your social media. Go to TikTok or Instagram or especially Twitter, Facebook. Give a few thoughts. Don't give the review away. Don't read or recite the review. Give a few thoughts and then say, here's my full review at Open Letters Review. Go and check it out. If you do that on Twitter or Instagram and you at the publisher, they will know about your review. They don't follow every single little detail, but if you let them know that your review's out there, they will know about your review. When it comes time for them to print the paperback, you don't have any idea if maybe one publicist will like a word or a phrase or a piece of praise from your own review and run it as a blurb on the paperback. And by that point, that's months down the line, by the time you have a blurb on a paperback, maybe I've got another sports book, maybe another football book that I am every bit as unqualified to review as I am to review this. Maybe I send it to you. Then all of a sudden you've got 2 football books that you've reviewed. Believe me, people are not going to care. People in the publishing world, people in the industry are not going to care that both those reviews showed up in the same place. They are not going to care. All they're going to care about is writer X has a history writing about this subject. You do that 4 times in a row, you'll be able to request books on this subject yourself, and not just from mainstream publishers. It's an opportunity. I just want to make sure you know that it's out there. So anyway, well, this was a completely safe mail haul. You weren't safe from me haranguing you, but you never are. So we have Rocket Men, about the struggles and I guess you could say at least partially the triumphs, 2 black quarterbacks in the Super Bowl, of black quarterbacks in the NFL. We have The Good Virus, which is a study of the phage, but not the Vidian phage. You don't have to worry about it. And Sun Damage by Sabine Durant, in which I'm guessing Lulu turns out to be innocent, but I could be wrong. So there you go. That is a bit of mail for a bright, sunny Tuesday. So I'll wrap this up, and I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.